everyone. Many people are asking the questions, what is this mysterious RDC? A lot of people, expatriates and a lot of people who visited UAE and living in UAE, there are a huge amount of them are leasing a certain property. And thankfully, not every single lease is having a certain real estate legal case. Okay, so we will now talk about what is actually RDC, which is so mysterious. People have heard about the rental regulation, but they don't know what is actually RDC in the details. RDC is a judicial hand of Dubai Land Department, which is in charge of regulating the entire relationship between two parties, which are tenants and the landlords. RDC is a rental dispute settlement center, which is located inside Dubai Land Department. So RDC, it's a certain type of the mechanism which will always try to balance and to settle any dispute related to the tenancy. So when I say any dispute here, I mean anything, any disagreement with the landlord. Of course, you cannot refer to RDC a certain part of your agreement, a certain aspect of your relations with your landlord, which is not registered in the agreement. So RDC is regulating everything which is registered in your lease agreement, which is attested by a jury, and which is very important, not followed by one of the party. Okay, so when we say that it's not followed by one of the party, it's not necessarily an agreement. It can be any law. For example, we know that there are three main laws which are regulating the relations between the tenants and the landlord. So this is the law number 26 of 2007, regulating the relationship between landlord and tenant. Then we have a law number 33, which is amending the law 26 of 2007. It's the same update of the law regulating the relationship between the tenant and the landlord. And the last law, which is it directly refers, which is a rare law, it is law number 43, determining the rental increase of the property in the Emirate of Dubai. So if any of the parties are not following any of the articles mentioned in these laws, so then RDC of course will have a certain power to let the people to follow this. So this is Rental Dispute Settlement Center. The RDC located in the port side, which is a Deira part of Dubai, and it's located inside the building of the Dubai Land Department, which is located right over here. And in order for you to access RDC, you have to use a separate entrance for the RDC, which is from the left side of the building. You will see there the logo RDC. From the left side of the building of Dubai Land Department, the main sliding door, it is taking you to RDC. So there you are seeing a reception. At this reception, you can get all the answers and to register a case in RDC. Okay, let's talk about how RDC works and what structure it has and how it can benefit specifically you. Okay, here we are having the structure of RDC. It is having the top two some part of departments, which is a Secretary General and the Technical Office. Okay, so let's have a look how the main procedures are going. Whenever you want to approach RDC and to file a complaint, definitely you need to start from the Central Support Department. As we see here, we have dispute and lawsuit registration and the service selection. And then in case if you're having the ongoing case, we have a litigants support, which will guide you through the entire process. So the Central Support Department, it is the initial step for those who are willing to register a certain case, or for those who are having a certain case and requires certain support. Okay, so then the second step will be Conciliation Department. Conciliation Department is a certain hand of RDC which is in charge of mediation. Let's say you are the landlord and your tenant is not following the obligations. You can, before starting to fight in the court, you can go to and approach conciliation department. Conciliation department will approach a tenant, will grab a tenant, then you, representative from the conciliation department, and the tenant, you can all sit you can all sit together around the table, and you can discuss how to settle your matter. So conciliation department, it's some kind of a quick solution without going to the fights in the courts. So it's a kind of mediation. The conciliation department will listen your complaint, will listen your situation, then they will approach the tenant, they will listen to the tenant, then all of you, you will sit together and you will try to find a common solution. So this is conciliation department. First instant circuit, it is a case when you are filing and you're willing to fight in the court. It has its own tribunals, it has its own enforcement of the decision, then it is issuing injunctions, and it's dealing with the grievances. And of course, there are a provisional and summary affairs, which are dealing, let's say, the final decisions of the judges. Okay, then we have a judgment execution department, which is in charge, which is actually a force, a special force of RDC, which is enforcing a decision, and it's some kind of a punisher, which is executing the decision of RDC. Let's say if you need to evict your tenant, it will do it. If you need to get money from your tenant, judgment execution department will do this. And then we have appellate department, which is appellate circuit. So this is mainly related. Let's say if you are not agreeing with a certain decision, so you can appeal this decision, and appellate department, it's something with who gonna help you in this. So this is mainly how RDC works. This is the main its structure and the procedures. The question is, who can register a case? Since it is a rental dispute settlement center, definitely it will be the parties of the lease agreement. So from one side, we have a landlord or a real estate company which owns or which manages this real estate. And from another hand, we are having a tenant or someone representing a tenant, or it can be even a law firm which acts either on behalf of the tenant or the landlord. So these two parties which we have separated, they are the main players, or even not the players, the main people or the main bodies who can file a case against another party. Okay, if you decided to file a case, I hope that it never gonna happen. Your lease relations will be very smooth. And so still to answer the question, how to file a legal case and how to do this and where to do this. So here you're given with the options. The option number one is you can visit directly the RDC, which is located inside Dubai Land Department. On from the left side there is an entrance to it. Or you can file a complaint approaching one of the registered office of RDC. The same Dubai Land Department is having registered trustee offices to conduct the transactions. We spoke about this before. The same registered offices are having RDCs, where you can register many of, there are a couple of them, you can find them here on official website of RDC, and it's showing you the addresses and everything. So by simply visiting these offices, you can file a case. And the most convenient option, of course, it will be to register a case using your mobile application or the desktop PC, so online. So you simply go to rdc.gov.ae, you create an account, and you can request for a service to register a case against another party. So you have the main three options. To summarize it, you visit Dubai Land Department, or you visit the registered trustee office, or you use the online service. You can do it sitting at home in just 10 minutes. Okay, so what type of documents do you require to file a legal case against another party of your agreement? So there are three categories. First, the IDs. Second, the proof of ownership. And third, all related to the lease agreement. Okay, the first we said there are IDs. So in this case, will be required your passport, your visa, your Emirates ID, both sides, and the IDs of the landlord. The passport copy, the Emirates ID, and the visa. In case if you are the company or your landlord is represented by the company, so in this case will be required a commercial trade license issued by Dubai Economic Department and the Emirates ID, both sides, and the passport copy of the owner of this company or any legal person who is mentioned in the commercial trade license. The second category, we say the proof of ownership. Let's say in case of villa, it can be an affection plan, so-called the map of the land, or it can be the the title deed, which is proving the ownership of the landlord. And the third category, we said all related to your lease agreement. So in this case, it will be literally your lease agreement. It will be your ijari. It will be all the check copies which you are having. It will be all receipts which have been issued. So these are the main documents which are required to file a legal case in RDC. Okay, let's talk about what services are the mostly used in RDC. Okay, if you are one of the suffered party and you want to file a legal case against another party, you are provided with a couple of options, and the first one is to do it via the mediation. So mediation is, as we said while talking about the procedures and the structure of RDC, it is a conciliation where you approach an RDC and the RDC representative is listening to you, and then it will approach let's say if you're the landlord, it will approach the tenant, it will listen another party, then all of you will sit together and you will try to find a certain solution, a consensus altogether. So this is the most easiest procedure where you can just finish within 15 days. The conciliation or mediation process, it takes up to 15 days maximum, but of course, as per the law, it can be extended for the same period if there are certain complications or a certain party, let's say, is unreachable. And if, let's say, you will gather all together in RDC, then you will find a consensus and solution, then 1/2 of all the fees will be refunded. So this is a good amount conciliation. And another service which you can apply is the first instance lawsuit. So this is when you are going directly to fight in the court against another party. So this is a quite complicated procedures and a quite long procedures compared to the mediation or conciliation. So first instance lawsuit, it takes up to 30 days, and it can be extended for the same period, which is again the next month and the next month and so on. And in this case, you will have to pay 3.5% of the entire rent. And another service which you can use, let's say you are one of the suffered party and the judgment was made against you and you have lost so-called legal fight. In this case, you can appeal the decision. So to do that, you will request a service which is appeal a judgment or appeal the decision. And in this case, you have the right only to appeal this decision if your lease it's more than 100,000. If it is less than 100,000, unfortunately, there is nothing you can do about this, except there is a law which is regulating the RDC, the law about establishing the rental dispute settlement center, the law number 26 of 2013, and it has an article. In case if the decision was made by the judgment based on certain documents which are false documents, or there have been certain fraudness towards you. So in this case, even if your rent is less than 100,000, still the decision can be appealed, but no more than this. What law RDC takes as basic? So first of all, it's a civil law, which RDC is taking as a basic, and this is also a RERA law, which RDC taking as a basic, the basic ground, and it is also Islamic and Sharia concept of law, which RDC is considering as well. Another question, where RDC has a power? RDC has a power entirely over the whole Dubai, except a free zones having its own courts. One of the greatest examples is the IFC, because it has its own court, which is following the British concept of courts. Okay, so RDC is having the power entirely over all the Emirate of Dubai, including the free zones, as we said, except those which are having its own courts. And RDC will not consider, firstly, the long-term lease agreements which are made in leasehold areas. For example, let's say you are expatriate coming from one of the countries, let it be USA or any other country, and you are, let's say, leasing a certain property in the leasehold area, let's say for 50 years or 99 years. This is the maximum limit you can lease a property for. And in this case, this lease agreement is not considered actually as a lease agreement considered by RDC. So it's a kind of a purchase of this property, because during the transfer you have to pay total for the transfer. There must be 4% of the registering this transaction in Dubai Land Department. So long-term lease agreements, which are, let's say, more than 10 years, won't be considered by RDC. And another category of the agreements which are not considered by RDC, these are finance lease agreements. What is finance lease agreements? These are a certain agreements, let's say, whenever you purchase a certain property using, for example, the Islamic bank, and in the title deed, the owner of this property will be, it can be Dubai Islamic Bank, which is a great example. And the person who purchased and applied for the mortgage, he will be a leasee. So he will be the one who will lease a property from Dubai Islamic Bank, let's say during a 25 years of tenure. So this is called a finance lease agreements, which are also not considered by RDC. To say it in a few words, RDC will consider only the agreements which are registered with Ijari. The last question is, what is special about RDC, which I personally like? So I love the way RDC works. It's really awesome. They try to be very advanced in the technology, and not only the technology, and also with a lot of procedures. For example, to make it much more easier to give the entire support of the parties which are in the lease agreement, RDC is having an amazing application which called a Smart Judge. It's in RDC. So the main concept is this: if you are one of the party of the lease agreement, so it's not necessary for you to go to RDC or to call RDC during the working hours and request a free consultancy. Using this application and this smart bot, you can simply check by answering certain questions of your lease agreement and to know, are you gonna win this case or are you gonna lose this case? So this is something which is awesome, because a lot of people they don't know the law of Dubai, they don't know the law of real estate, and unfortunately there are many cases where people going to fight legally and they lose this fight because initially they were wrong. So this amazing application, it helps to get them in advance the answer, are you gonna win the case or not? So this is what I really like about RDC. Another point which I really like about RDC, the way they always try to improve their service, they try to improve the legislation based on the certain experiences. We know that from the law number 26 of 2007 and the article 15 that the property should be handed over in excellent condition. and then it should be the tenant should vacate and should return the property in the condition he received them. So I have seen many fights between the landlords and the tenants where the landlords are deducting a certain amount for painting the house after the tenant will vacate the property. So in this case, there are many cases in RDC related to exactly this exactly related to deduction of this amount from the security deposit. So now RDC stated and published a news saying that the landlord has no right to deduct a certain amount from security deposit from painting, and painting is considered a certain work related to cleaning the apartment after the tenant vacated, which is the duty of the landlord to clean apartment after the tenant vacated. So no more landlords are allowed to deduct a certain amount from security deposit for painting the house. This is what usually landlord used to do. They used to deduct a certain amount from security deposit to paint it for the new upcoming tenant. So based on the certain experiences which the RDC was going through, so they made this conclusion, which is, again, it's a great and something to respect RDC. Another thing what I personally like about RDC and in general any government entity of Dubai is online services available in your pocket, in your smartphone. For example, let's say you have made a certain legal case against another party. It's not necessary for you to call your lawyer or to call to RDC to ask the latest updates, or even worse, always to visit RDC to get an updates. No, you can simply take your phone, you can, after filing a case, you will receive the SMS. This SMS is gonna state a certain status, the current status of your case. It will indicate a registration number of your case, the year, and which property it's related to. And by simply just putting this registration number on the website or in your mobile application of RDC, you can simply track what is status of your current case, and it is updated very frequently. So RDC really works fast, and whenever a certain status changes or a certain comments or updates made to your case by RDC or by another party, you will immediately receive an SMS notification, which is another part which makes RDC just unbelievable. So this is all about RDC. And a final question to answer, maybe some of you would love to read about a law which regulates the establishment of RDC. This is the law 26 of 2013 that RDC was established, and this law describes the functions, the main vision and mission of RDC. In case if you will have any further questions, leave a comment or feel free to send me an email. Thank you very much. I wish you a great day.